Hi, so this is the second part of my Earthworm Jim playthrough actually. Now this game was the reason I got into the games industry and it's one of my favourite games. So I'm going to discuss a bit more about what I was doing around that time, but the discussion that I'm going to start off with is about the sort of time it took to get videos and games in from like other countries like the US and Japan, and there was a bit of delay, much more of a delay than there is now for importing stuff and even getting some of the films on at the cinemas and things like that. But I'll carry on the discussion on the video itself. Thanks.
Really interesting. I mean, where were we in the UK? I mean, in the 90s and the 80s, we were kind of always a little bit behind, about 6 months in terms of our video and stuff, and people who like anime stuff. That was rare. You can just download any cartoon, any film, any video from any country now, almost, either legally or not. I'm going to die before I can get there, and I'm not sure how they're getting around here without having extra air. Back then, things would delay for like 6 months, a year, 2 years before we would actually get them here. And some like Japanese stuff, just we didn't get. Even some US stuff, we were kind of limited to what we got hold of. It was like a different world almost. So going out there was kind of interesting, a different world. As I say. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how different places have different beliefs and blah blah blah. But I guess there's less of that now. Everybody's sort of homogenizing, not the right word, until one collective consciousness almost. Maybe I guess I don't feel that that's necessarily a good thing. When, having some independence. Oh, I'm going to fail again. So, yeah, I've kind of gone all the way back. So I'm going to try and be as quick as possible and get back to the area that I was up for. But I should be more careful, right? Just keep hitting that button. Right, okay, here we go. I believe I'm back in the same place as before. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm just going to try this again. Hopefully I'll have a bit more luck, and now I know where the secret is again, I'll do a bit better. Yeah, so I basically had a bit of dialogue with the guys that developed the game and harassed them a bit, and just tried to get as much info as I could about the game. So I kind of got a bit friendly with them, and eventually I did go and meet Doug in San Diego for the Comic Con, because he obviously was working on comics and he'd go out there quite often. I think he still does, every year, to kind of pitch his stuff. And I was interested in, there's games at Comic Con, there's films, there's comic books, there's everything, everybody, any geek could want, basically. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a bit far to go, really, I guess, but I kind of enjoyed going out there, I'd say. You learn, like, you know, about stuff about the countries, how they work, and it was kind of interesting, yeah, kind of fun. You know, I've never been that far away from the UK before. In fact, I'd never really flown on a plane before. I'd travelled to Paris on the Channel Tunnel. Oh dear, I still not got this, have I? And that was about as far as I'd gone. That was actually work. I did some research and went to Paris. So basically, yeah, the US is kind of a long way away, and everything is like huge scale. Not only their food, but you know, the actual country is massive compared to the UK. Not as big as places like Russia, obviously. I mean, they're kind of pretty much a different deal, though, aren't they? I mean, and every county obviously is like almost its own set of rules. But San Diego is in California, which is kind of a little bit more like the UK in terms of its rules and regulations, etc. So it wasn't too bad. Oh, I've already smashed this up completely. Ah! I've just decided to try to do this bit without talking too much, so you might have to bear with the silence or like listening to music or whatever. This is exceptionally hard. In fact, I think it's like one of the hardest parts of the game. I've seen comments on YouTube and stuff like that saying, "Yeah, I hate this level." I mean, I guess I found it challenging to say I hated it. I got angry at other games. I don't think I really got angry at this one that much. But it is kind of a bit of a piss take in terms of how difficult this section is. There are actually hidden air pockets, but I've kind of almost forgotten all about where they are. I know where there is one, so I'm going to try and hurry to that. The key is here to kind of go as fast as you can without bumping too much, and that slows you down, and also it destroys your little submarine ball thing. Actually, while I'm going through this, and I can kind of, I wouldn't say talk about anything too intensive, but while I can talk, I find it interesting that the actual Earthworm Jim sprite in this first game has kind of got a different design from like later games, and well, the cartoon had a completely different style basically. But some of the artwork and stuff is completely different from this. He's much more squat. It's a bit weird actually. If you see like the HD update, which is on Xbox 360, the Xbox Live Arcade section, he's actually a bit more taller, and obviously he's got the HD graphics. And I think in Earthworm 2 he really is quite tall. I believe the air is around here somewhere. Which is the next section. Here we go. Quickly grab this air. Right, I'm kind of quids in now. I can kind of do this. But yeah, he's kind of squat, and I don't think it's like a resolution problem of like running it through my TV or whatever, because obviously TV then were not widescreen, they were like sort of a lot more square. I think it is just the issue here that but the art was kind of different. Actually, kind of, some ways refer this art to like the later game, like Earthworm Jim 2 and like other stuff, like the HD remakes, as I said. And we will never talk about Earthworm Jim 3D. Oh, that was a mistake. And it kind of killed the franchise. I mean, yeah, there's other reasons why there will never be an Earthworm Jim game. And they have tried to make other ones. But I don't know, there's something more rustic sort of about this. So I'm just going to finish the level. Now, you've got a boss fight here, and this is a kind of tongue-in-cheek joke against Mortal Kombat. Actually, it doesn't happen in the SNES version, I'm sorry, but if you play the PC version, there's like a fight. Oh no, sorry, that's Earthworm Jim 2 actually. So basically, I'm talking rubbish. Basically, you just knock over the bowl that this fish is in, but that's Bob the Killer Goldfish. He's meant to be like the boss character, and basically, there is no boss fight. It's kind of a joke. Oh, this is going to be a harder one. Let's keep moving. Let's go. I'm going to beat you, Psycho. Now I can go back on the track. So basically, what I was trying to talk about was like, me getting in touch with developers. It's going to be my next sort of topic. I actually went out to San Diego in about 2006, and I went a few other, like the following year, and I went recently to see Doug, who created the original character, and also has these like comic books that he's done, and I kept in touch with for a bit. But basically, it was just nice to go out there. I mean, if you ever get a chance to go out to the Comic-Con, not necessarily the San Diego one, because it's really, really, really busy. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to go again. But if you ever get to a Comic-Con that's of a decent size, I believe there is a decent one in London. You know, you'll get everything. You'll get comic books, you'll get games, you'll get films, you'll get stars turning up in films often. It's a really good place for geeks to hang out, the other geeks. Oh, now I've got to fight Psycho, because even though I got enough things for an extra life, 51, I have to get 50, I've actually managed to lose the race. So yeah, I mean, if you're big into games, big into films, big into comic books, it's a great place to go. You know, there's people in cosplay, there's all sorts going on. I wouldn't say that everything is awesome about them. There are some very strange people, but the people that you meet, if you're genuinely hanging out with a nice bunch of people, you'll have a good time. But be careful with anything, you know. Can't trust everyone. Damn it, Psycho. With anything, I mean, if you've got a great bunch of friends, you can, you know, have great times. It's important. So I got rid of him, and they're just like shooting him and whipping him away. Now we've got a snot problem. Right, basically, bungee jumping was cool at the time, so this is like a bungee jump on a bit of snot into like this pool of ooze, which has got some creature that well, it might be snot as well, that has that can bite you in half basically. So you've got to fight this other guy. Now, because I've already got like low health, my bungee cord's already pretty much knackered, so I might not be able to do this. There's actually 3 rounds of this. All you got to keep doing is shoving that guy's name is Major Mucus, which I was explaining a bit before at the beginning, into the sidewalls here. Yeah, I think he is like the start of the comic of the story of the evolution of Earthworm Jim, whereas in the comic series it was Psycho that stole a suit or something, I think. But either way, that's nothing to do with the game. It actually came afterwards. It's a bit funny, really, that I just died then. It's a bit nuts, really, because obviously the game came out. You would never do like this now. You would never have. Well, they barely had it then. You'd never have a game that would be turned into a comic book and merchandise and stuff like that. It just doesn't really happen that much anymore. I think Rare had it by like Donkey Kong or something, and I believe they created Viva Pinata with the same idea in mind, that you would then sell merchandise and comic series. That's just not really common. Normally it goes the other way, where you'll have a game that gets turned into a film or a comic, or the comic will come out first and then the game and then the film, or or a comic and then a film. Games don't tend to have films made about them. A couple that I can think of are things like Doom, which was actually not similar to Doom at all. What else have we got? There was going to be one of Halo, and that just didn't happen. I think there was a short film in the end. But yeah, the main Halo film, the proper one, the full feature film, didn't happen. So this was kind of a unique game, and I don't think they really planned for it to be made into other merchandise. They would have spent a lot more time if that was the case, I think. Making all the preamble to this, like getting the comic to link into the game, to link into the film, which never came out either. But yeah, there was blatantly no intention to do any sort of merchandise for this until afterwards. Having said that, I think because obviously it does have like links to that higher Playmates, I believe they made toys at the time, so the toys were definitely going to get made, but there wasn't like a plan to do a cartoon series or extend the story or anything like that. I think they kind of did take a bit of a risk making this, to be honest. They probably did have like lots of deals that were silently making but kind of weren't signed off until after the game shipped. So yeah, this was probably quite risky for them, to be honest. Get out of it. Oh no! And as I said, if you do want to play this game, there is a version on the Xbox 360 in the XBLA section, the arcade section, and there is also copies of this on things like Good Old Games, which are very cheap. You can play it on the PC. You will need a controller though. You will need a controller. I've played some of these versions. I played the XBLA version, and they've kind of, whoever worked on it kind of updated it, but not necessarily for the best. Some of the extra levels are kind of corny, and add in like a load of current, sort of more current stuff like memes, and it kind of didn't work because this is blatantly a 90s game, and didn't need it didn't suit the game, should I say. They tried to add like multiplayer co-op or something as well, which was really bizarre. So I don't actually rate that version. I would say you're probably best off with the PC version, but it's not flawless. The actual console versions are the best ones in my opinion still now. The controls are a little bit more tight. It's actually, funnily enough, almost a bit easier on those. The only benefit on the PC is obviously you've got saves. I think they put a password system, but I think also on the Good Old Games thing you might be able to save like any time, whereas obviously on this I'm kind of relying on cheats if I fail, or not fail and get through the game in one, which is my goal for now. Oh no! That was lucky. That guy bites off your legs, bites you in half if you get too close. This guy also, the Major Mucus there, he also can sometimes get tangled up in his rope, which you would think is like a good thing, you know. You've kind of done him enough damage, but actually he starts spinning around like that, and then you can't actually hit him. And if you do, you actually take damage, so you have to stay away from him. It's kind of a bit harsh, really, isn't it? He's at a disadvantage, but somehow he's actually a threat to you still. Oh no! Oh, I'm gonna have to try this one more time. Hopefully, I'll get through this one because, you know, he's No! Oh, I got bit in half. At least I proved that was what happened there. This is the final level. There's like 3 fights you have to have with him basically on this. And this is like another sort of, this isn't a proper level really, this is like another mini game between levels, even though it's counted as a level. It probably was quite a lot of work to do this actually. You know, you've got something that's completely unique with unique animations where he's like stretching and squashing and falling. Well, the falling ones probably are used in various places, but some of the falling ones are unique to it, and some obviously. Oh, now I've got twisted up, so it means that I have a disadvantage, but I can't hurt him. No, that would be too fair. But yeah, obviously this is all animation, there's no sort of... all 2D animation. This all had to be drawn, hand-drawn. And I'm not saying there isn't a lot of talent and effort goes into 3D, but this was kind of hard work for them, I would imagine. Oh, no. I don't think I'm going to get away with this. He's being too cautious not to come over to my side, so I can't hit him in there. And then when I do, I'm already at the bottom. Well, maybe we can get him now. No, he's managed to outsmart me. Get into that side. Oh no, he's spinning. Ah, what a pain in the arse he's been. How while he's dazed and confused? Not doing him much damage, am I? Get in there. Just trying to get through this section really. Oh, that was close. So, yeah, I have to keep bumping him into this. It is definitely a product of its time again, like Conker's was, and you know, well, I think we'll find this always though. I think, oh no, is my game over? So I'm probably going to just cheat back to level 3 or just skip back to level 3 because that is that's going to be hard work otherwise.
So, with games like Earthworm Jim, Conkers, I mean, they came out, well, as I said, Jim came out when I was at school, Conkers came out at the end of uni, so this was kind of the end of the time where I was growing up, so they kind of do mean quite a lot to me, and they've also got like a lot of history at the time, you know. Bungee jumping was suddenly new and a popular sport, and I was in the press quite a lot. It was even on the news, I think, you know, trying to get people interested in doing this new and fantastic, amazing sport, or whatever. So that's probably why it's in the game, because you know it was a current event.
very careful. Get him in the side now. No! Oh, this is just intolerable. So I'm going to keep whacking him. And obviously there's like all kind of cult movie references, plus movies that were more current at the time, that are brought up throughout the game, and well, not just movies, just lingo of the time, anything really. To a degree, even the art style also pushed by other art in that era. And obviously the limitations and the design of the game itself is pushed by what tech is available. So everything is obviously 2D and sprite based, whereas like maybe 4 or 5 years after this, you had like more fully 3D games. I got rid of it finally. But I mean, even that, when there was a switch between 3D and 2D, I actually didn't jump on the bandwagon straight away, because the 3D at the time, if you go back and play some of those games, I mean, Conker's not too bad, but some of the ones that were before it, they kind of look kind of horrible. And also, they didn't really understand how to make good 3D games at that point. So some of the gameplay is awful. I think I've seen like one that's Bubsy 3D, and I know Bubsy wasn't the best character anyway, but they didn't understand how to do like a game in it, and it's just blatant that they don't. You know, there's just no way that you would call that a playable 3D adventure game, because it wasn't. And to be honest, I think the only company really to get it right at that time was Nintendo with Mario 64, and that was the first game that kind of, I would say, you would go, oh yes, 3D gameplay has actually made it. I mean, yeah, that was until the N64 came out, which was, I believe, about maybe a bit before then, 1997 was the N64, I think. I think I just beat him, but I didn't get enough for an extra life. There he is, twirling his head like a lasso rope. So that means a what? Yeah. Now I'm guessing that like level 5 is a reference to just, you know, sort of maybe an area in the building. You go level 1, level 2, level 3, level 5. Also, yeah, obviously it's like games are always leveled, so they kind of, that's where the idea of that name came from. It's pretty obvious, but it's just kind of fun to think about, you know, why they called these things what they did at the time. Oh, really brain things. Okay, got rid of those. So yeah, you're basically in like a secret science lab type area now. There's a doctor in here that has a monkey crafted to his head. Basically. Yep, it's strange, it's very strange. As I say, kind of surreal, isn't it? This weird environment with a crazy professor. That's his name, Professor Monkey for Head, by the way. So let's go up here. Yeah, let's talk about other things that kind of were out at the same sort of time. So there was Wayne's World. I believe the first film probably came out in about 1995, and there was a sequel. Now this is about basically a group, well, it was actually two guys who bought cable access. I don't know if that still exists in the US, if you can still do that, but basically the idea was that you can buy a slot, a time slot, if you wanted, and broadcast almost anything, I believe. I guess with YouTube, it's probably gone away now. You know, people can just go online and broadcast whatever they want. But at the time there was no YouTube, and the only way to broadcast anything to people was actually via TV channels or cable channels. Something we didn't actually have in the UK. So this is actually quite a hard bit. But basically, yeah, it was comedy basically, and it's got like lots of cultural references, and obviously lots of the music of the time, or just briefly before that. Really, it's kind of like quite a bit of rock music in. Quite a lot from the 70s, actually, a lot of the 70s bands. There's also got some more modern stuff mixed in. Well, I say modern, more 90s sort of bands and jokes based on that kind of era. So I recommend seeing it. What else do I want to talk about? Oh yes, there's a film that's coming out soon. It's called The Angry Video Game Nerd. This was actually on a short. Oh dear. Just do reading this way. Okay, I just had to get past that section, so that's why it was blanked out. It is actually quite hard to concentrate on. You have to work out where those guys are coming from, so I'm back now. Right, we're going to see Professor Monkey for the head for the first time here. He's going to open a valve that you can't actually attack him or anything. You can scare him off, basically. You can't actually damage him, he just runs off. So he opens these valves that let out little critters. Where let's go now, I think this way. Going, oh, there he is again, let's get rid of him. Kill a few more of his pets that he keeps releasing. Pet Source Science project that has gone terribly wrong. There we go. If that syncs up, I'm going to be really impressed, because I can't actually hear any audio. Makes the game a little bit harder to do it in terms of like recording this stuff. Also, it will be really reflected in the audio. I mean, the audio is not seemingly great quality anyway. Where the heck am I going to go now? Not that way. I think it's this way again. Any problem with falling down? Yeah, lost. So there's going to be a new film coming out soon. There was a short series that was called The Angry Video Game Nerd, and it was on the Screw Attack channel, I believe, originally, but now it's on YouTube. Guys sort of broadcast it on there now, and basically it's about all old games, and the guy's been working on a film
for about, I don't know, actually maybe about 3 or 4 years now, to actually bring like a full feature film of the Angry Video Game Nerd to the cinemas. I think he's just about done it, and he's going to show it in the cinema, and I think there's obviously going to be a DVD of it, but there's also it's going to be online as well. But I think he really wants to get it in the cinema because obviously he's a traditionalist, I guess, especially if he's as kind of interested in old games like me. He wants to make sure that, you know, that era is captured. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily bother releasing an indie film in the cinema now, but he's chosen to do this because that's the background he's from. So I recommend seeing it because it's probably going to be interesting. It's based on the lost ET carts, which were actually found recently, but I don't see any problem with it still being released though, because obviously it makes it actually more current. That actually somebody bothered to dig up these things now. I think it's going to be a good film. The ET cart, if you didn't know, it was kind of a urban legend, which has actually been proved to be true. The thing was that Atari, these guys, basically made some games for the Atari, and some of them were so awful, including E.T., that they just buried a load of them under concrete in the Nevada desert. And nobody kind of bothered to check this out for like years and years. I mean, it must be about 30 years at least. And I think Microsoft and some other people decided to actually go out and do a historical survey and actually try and dig up these carts, and they are actually in the desert. But yeah, the film is based on this myth before they'd actually proved it, so it's kind of a little bit out of date now, but it kind of, I don't think it's ruined it. I think it's made it more fun, to be honest. That it actually is true. Because they were going to do the same thing. I think they went out and they uncovered it in the film. Obviously the film was a story. So if I keep moving, I have to keep going off, climbing all these chains and elevator systems. I think if I jump here a bit far, fallen down, probably even got anywhere. Oh, I fell down and died now. That's the trouble with these videos. I've got to try and talk about interesting stuff and play the game, which is almost impossible sometimes. So if they do go blank or the screen fades out, it's probably because I've been concentrating too much to actually add much content. Yeah, and this is the second time you basically lose your suit as well, that's worth saying. I think it must be the last time you lose your suit. I don't think it happens again. Once you pass this level. This is a pure platforming section, this bit. Because again, there's like lots of added little mini games or new sort of, I would say new but different gameplay they have in different levels. Whereas this one specifically is like New Jump City and what the heck, you kind of happen to climb and swing around. There we go. I was doing it the wrong way, the level was misleading me. That's much easier. Once I did it properly, that is. Okay, let's carry on. So yeah, now we're gonna face the boss. No, there's a bit more. Teleports you across the level. I think that it's not too far away from the boss now. So I'm gonna have to fight Fresh Monkey for a head. Basically, I'll keep getting closer to him, and eventually he runs off because he's scared. So yeah, this was kind of a very popular, well, reasonably popular game, and it did have like a cult following, and it had like quite a few fans online that I actually got chatting with. Some of them I still hang out with, or at least chat to occasionally. It's been about 20 years, and to be honest, after all this time, it's hard to like keep in contact with people, especially when it is a limited group of individuals that are interested in a game. I mean, it still happens now. There's still, games that come out that have cult followings or really big fan bases, and that's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess that some of those are much bigger, and there are sort of bigger groups that hang out. But yeah, our group is pretty small, to be honest, so I don't really hang out with them that much. I do keep in contact with some of them, but I mean, also, you get so busy with real life stuff that you can't spend the time like making my fan site. I had to give that up because I was too busy working, and also there didn't seem much point after 15 years, say, of doing it. I've still got it. I can still put up all the data, which I might do eventually, if people are interested, that is, but it seems less necessary now for myself anyway, and yeah, I just don't think people are as interested as they were, so that's kind of why I've not. Oh no, I'm going to start this again. Can I stop the continuation point? Oh, cool. Oh, that's frustrating. But yeah, I think there's a less need for me to be involved, so that's why I kind of stopped doing it. I think I've probably said already, but I think there's going to be no chance that there's going to be another Earthworm Jim game. The IP was basically... The IP is basically the property, the idea was split up when Shiny saw it into play, and in fact I think there's an interview with Dave Perry saying that basically he wished that he hadn't done this deal in the end, because, not only did he lose all the other products that he had, but he lost his gym. So it means that nobody can make like another game like this. I think the developers did try a number of times. There was talk about doing a Kickstarter, but basically it's not going to happen. Let's try running past him and just... I'm assuming I've got to get to this and block it or something. Oh no, I'm just going to run for it. Run, die again. Oh, continue. Why doesn't it continue? Sometimes old games can be frustrating. I'm just going to run past all these guys now. I've had enough of this. Hope that there's health at the top. This is not the best way to play this game, by the way. But yeah, I doubt that it's going to be a new game. It's a bit of a shame, really, because I think that actually a 3D game of this now, like proper, modern tech, would be really fantastic. It would look really lovely. Almost the quality of, the 2D old school animation. I think they could do something really cool with it. So that's a bit of a shame, really, because it is a bit of a cult, iconic game. And while I say the fan base was pretty small, the actual number of people that say, you know, especially in the press, that they would love another Earthworm Jim game is immense. There's definitely an opening for it. Unfortunately, the longer it goes, the less chance there is that there will be one, especially with the properties spread across multiple developers and publishers alike. Oh god, this is going to be harsh. So yeah, I've now got to beat this chicken boss, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. You've got to shoot this target. He keeps launching these little egg bomb things, and he can hurt you pretty easily with his little... I don't know what that thing is. Oh! Sort of like an injector or something. Again, yeah, he's kind of a weird experiment, I guess, of Professor Mushroom. Oh, it's more frustrating than I remember it used to be. Oh, get out of my way! Oh, I'm going to turn into the angry video game nerd in a minute. Oh, yeah, it's more difficult than it needed to be. And I'll swing back over to try again. The main trick is to kind of make him come to you and then just keep whipping this bit, because every time he gets stunned he kind of can't move anywhere for a brief second, so doing as many of those as possible, that's how to get past him. Okay. Now I've got to beat him in a free fall. Now he drops bombs, so basically again you want to try and keep him in a corner, like I'm doing, and keep, yeah, hitting him as much as possible, and don't let him get underneath you basically, because that makes it harder. There we go. Now I'm going to try and keep him in that corner again, keep him bombing himself. Hopefully we'll get through this before I die. Oh, I'm out of frickin' ammo now. Oh, right, I'll let my ammo come back. And this is annoying as well, because obviously I've got limited ammo, and I can't really whip him, so... Oh! I really run out of ammo. Oh, I've got him. I whipped him. Oh, but now I've only got 5 health.
So we've only got about 2 levels left, which are Pete's Sake and the final level, Footbill. And Pete's Sake's got like a dog in it that mutates a bit like the Incredible Hulk, which is kind of interesting. That opens up some new gameplay, so it's worth watching that one. And I'll see you next time.